excited to introduce our guest who's going to be talking to you in a moment, Mr. Matt. Mr. Matt runs a company called Mountain Quests, and Mountain Quests has organized some residential trips for us for this spring. As part of the eco-literacy work that you've been doing with Miss Hannah, all of you will have an opportunity to go on one of two different trips. One of them focusing on mountains and deserts and wetlands, and the other one focusing on marine environments. And Mr. Matt is going to tell you about each of those. All right, so I'm going to not use any more time. I'm going to turn over right to Mr. Matt. And please have a close listen. Your parents are going to come this afternoon and hear the same things he's telling you right now. But it would be really great if you're able to answer questions for your parents if they had questions after they see the presentation, or if they can't come.
Thank you. Hi everyone, it's really nice to see you guys. It's been a long time since I was standing in front of students, so I'm really happy to be here today. I'm going to keep things a little bit brief because I know we're tight on time. As Mr. Friend said, we are here today to speak about some residential trips that are going to be happening in March next year, obviously within the same curriculum year that you're in now. Okay, so I'm just going to get straight into it. Okay, so first and foremost, we might not have time to go through all these slides, so I might go across a few quite quickly, but this slide is probably what you guys or most people know the UAE is famous for. Is that correct? Yeah, skyscrapers, big buildings, lovely houses and bars and restaurants and all sorts going on out there, okay? So I think everyone, especially from outside the UAE, knows that's what the UAE is all about. But what else is it all about? Does anyone want to give me one thing that comes to mind when they think of the UAE? Yes? Deserts. You've got it right. That's exactly what's on my next slide. So where's the biggest desert in the world?
The Arctic.
You got, no, almost. Go on, try again.
The Arctic plains?
Try the other one.
The Sahara Desert?
No, I'll ask someone else then. Go on, yeah. Antarctic. So you're close, really close. I didn't think you guys were going to get that. I'm really, really impressed. The Antarctic is the biggest desert in the world, but what is the biggest sand desert in the world? Yes? It's not the Sahara. Yes?
Gobi?
Not the Gobi. One more. It's in the UAE, and it's the Empty Quarter. So the world's largest sand desert is actually in the Empty Quarter, which is in the UAE and also goes in Saudi Arabia and Oman. So we've got some pretty amazing things going on our doorstep in the UAE, and I'm going to talk a little bit about them now. Not just deserts that the UAE is famous for. It's also famous for things like mountains. Who's been to the mountains in Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah? Yeah, you've all seen them, right? Have you seen the wadis that are in between the mountains? Yeah? Sometimes it's got water in it, sometimes it doesn't. Especially nowadays with cloud seeding, we see quite a lot of water going on in the wadis. Has everyone heard about cloud seeding in the UAE? Yeah? So it's getting more and more lush, more and more vegetation. On top of that, we've also got mangroves. Who's seen mangroves in the UAE? Yeah? We've got them in places like Abu Dhabi, we've got them in Ajman, we've got them in Al Quwain, Kalba, so many mangroves going on in the UAE. Okay? But it's not just what's happening on the land that is interesting. We've also got things going on in the sea, okay? Can someone give me one place where they've seen coral reefs in the UAE? Yes?
I saw one in
Dibba, so that's Fujairah, right? Yeah, one more. Oman, okay. I'm going to have to keep wrapping on, so sorry to not answer more questions. This one is in Abu Dhabi. Who knew that there were coral reefs in Abu Dhabi? Yeah? They have them right off the coast in the city and all the way along the coast towards Saudi Arabia. They have a lot of coral reefs, quite different from what you see on the east coast because of the changes in temperature of the water. Now, where there's coral, there's fish. This photo was taken in the UAE. A little bit naughty, it was taken in Fujairah because we're going to focus on Abu Dhabi in a minute. But yes, Nemo is in the sea in the UAE. And as a result of that, we also see a lot of sea turtles. Okay, just the other day I was in Fujairah and I saw a sea turtle just swimming along the coast, coming up to breathe, right on the little beach I was staying at. There's a lot in Abu Dhabi. We're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So why are we talking about all these different ecosystems and the biodiversity? Well, it's because we can get involved. We can go and see these things. We can get to learn about them. We can interact with them. Okay? And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that through something called citizen science. Has anyone heard, what citizen science is? Yeah, exactly. It's not that common. I'm going to define it for you loosely. Citizen science is when people like you and I, people who have an education but maybe not formally educated in specific sciences to university or higher level, can actually go out into the field, into nature, and help data collect, learn about different ecosystems, gather data, and in the best case scenario, hand that data over to scientists to help them work on their projects in order to learn about an ecosystem better, or to actually learn about how they might be able to change policy or improve things so those ecosystems are better protected going forward. That's what citizen science is. But why am I talking about citizen science? Okay? Because we're going to get involved. And we're going to do that on these trips. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to be working with real scientists who are working either for universities or for groups such as the Natural History Group of the UAE. That's a very little known organization, but it's very, very active, and it's out there. They're out there every single week. Also with PhD scientists from places like New York University in Abu Dhabi. We're going to be out there in the field with them, learning all about these different ecosystems I talked about, and collecting data, standardizing it, learning how to do that, and then uploading that into various systems so that scientists can use that for real-world projects. Okay? So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that through 2 different trips across your 4-year groups. Okay? So this is the time to listen if you want to know what's going to happen. Okay, the first one, for year 6 and 7. Who's in year 6 and 7? Okay, so I'm talking to you guys at the front. This one, you're going to be focusing on life on land. This is going to be linked to your curriculum, okay? Well, we'll come on to that, what that means in a minute. Now, who's in years 8 and 9? I'm guessing you're at the back. Yeah? You guys are going to be focusing on the sea. You're going to be doing life in the sea, okay? And I'm going to go on to these trips now. Firstly, life on land, okay? This is the photo of the wadi that you might have seen earlier, okay? Can you all see the Sustainable Development Goals at the bottom? Does everyone know what those are? Yeah, you've all learned about them. Okay, so these goals that you see at the bottom, these are the goals that are linked to this trip. You have SDG 3, good health and well-being. You'll understand why that is in a minute. You have 12 for responsible consumption. And most importantly, you have number 15 for life on land, and that is going to be the key focus of this trip, okay? What are we going to be doing? Well, okay, we're going to be, most importantly, getting involved in various citizen science projects, okay? That's going to be happening in wadis and mountains, in Wadi Shauka. Has anyone heard of Shauka before? No? Okay, that's good. That means we're going to go to somewhere new for most of us, okay? We're going to Wadi Shauka. We're going to be spending time there learning how to collect data on a real research project for insects. It's happening with one of the universities in Al Ain. They have a research station there. We're actually going to help them collect data and hand it over to the scientists. They've actually found new species of insects in Wadi Shauka on this exact research station. So you never know, we might be able to help them find other new species. And in the worst case scenario, we're going to learn more and more about the species that currently exist and how they're faring and how we might be able to better protect them, okay? We're also going to be doing something called a BioBlitz. This is where we learn all about how to collect data on square meter size plots and all the different flora and fauna that's available in those plots. We're going to gather data that too, okay? It's not all work, of course. We're also going to be getting involved in camping. We're going to be camping for both nights on the trip. One night's going to be in the desert, so you can imagine you're going to be with your friends, with a campfire, you're going to be enjoying tea-building skills, and more importantly, you're going to learn how to survive like proper explorers in the desert to make sure that you would know what to do in a situation if you got stuck in the desert. Obviously, heat, lack of water, etc. is a big problem there. Navigation's a big problem. We're going to learn about all those different things while we're there in teams, okay? And we're also going to be hiking and kayaking, okay? Now, don't worry too much about fitness levels and things like that. These are quite small hikes. They're accessible to everyone, but we will be getting involved in the wadis and then going on the kayaks to learn more about mangroves, okay? The small hiking will be happening in Wadi Shauka, and the kayaking will be happening in Ajman, in a place called Al Zora Nature Reserve, okay? It's a protected area by the government, and even when we're in the mangroves, we're going to be learning all about why that ecosystem is so important, okay? Now, as I said, this is for years 6 and 7. So, if you're in years 8 and 9, what are we going to... Oh, sorry, these are a few photos. I'll skip through them, but you can see the kind of things we'll be doing. This is Wadi Shauka. They have some beautiful little pools there. We've seen some camping. This is the Al Zora Nature Reserve, where we'll be going kayaking. Now, if you're in years 8 and 9, we're going to be focusing on the sea. So what does that mean? Well, we're going to be getting involved in a citizen science project that's based around a concept called Reef Check. Reef Check is a collection of scientists based in California and US who have set up a standardized data collection approach where people like you and I can go out into the ocean and learn and collect data on reefs, not just coral reefs, but also fish and the substrate of the ocean there, okay? We'll be learning how to collect data under the water like marine biologists, and we will be collecting that data and handing it over to the guys over at Reef Check in California. This will allow them to learn how the health of the reefs are going on in the UAE, and then also to be able to track that, learn how coral bleaching is occurring here versus other parts of the world, and also what we might be able to do to address that going forward. Okay? We're also going to be getting involved in camping here as well, this time on Al Hudayriat Island. You'll see a photo of Al Hudayriat. A little less camping, a little more glamping on this one, but you'll see what that means in a minute. So we'll be camping there, there's all sorts of activities we'll be doing there as well. We'll also be kayaking in Hudayriat, but we'll be focusing more on the marine ecosystems that the mangroves are protecting rather than the mangroves themselves, okay? And on top of that, we'll be kayaking, like I said, kayaking, we'll be snorkeling as well to see what the reefs look like. Also, very special, we're really, really lucky. I don't know if anyone knows about the new aquarium that's just opened in Abu Dhabi. It's the biggest aquarium in the Middle East. We're lucky enough to visit the aquarium on this trip and to go and see and learn and get involved on how turtles are being rehabilitated that have been brought in from the wild that are injured, and then they get rehabilitated and sent back out into nature to continue their lives. We're very, very lucky to be able to get a behind-the-scenes look of how that all works. Okay? So, a couple more photos, and then we'll move on to the next bit, because I think we're running out of time, are we? Yeah?
10 minutes?
There we go. Again, years 8 and 9. So, this photo that's coming up, sorry, it's not. There we go. This is Al Hudayriat campsite, okay? So you can see it's a beautiful little campsite. These are the sort of tents you'll be staying in the campsite. This is an example of Reef Check. Do you see how one of the students is gathering data and the other one is working on it's called a transect line? This is the kind of stuff you guys will be getting involved with if you're in years 8 and 9 to do this trip, okay? And finally, this is a naughty photo because this is not at the aquarium, of course, because the aquarium is still so new, there are no photos to show of the rehabilitation, what they're doing. But this is a turtle, it's a green turtle, and these are the sort of turtles we will be looking at to understand how they are getting injured in the first place and how they're going to be rehabilitated so they can get back to the wild. And then we'll learn about things we could do, as well about including how governments and organizations can work to make sure they don't get injured and hurt in the first place. Okay? So, what does that mean? Well, what I hope it means is that after you've been on these trips, they're 3 days and 2 nights next March, what I really hope is that you learn a lot from the trips, you also have a lot of fun with your friends, but you bring these experiences back to the classroom and to your lives when you come back to Dubai. What do I mean by that? I mean, you will learn a lot of things hands-on. You'll get a lot of access to these scientists and marine biologists who will be able to guide you and explain a lot of different concepts to you. You'll also learn a lot about yourself, about the adventures you're going to have, and it'd be great if you could bring that back to the classroom and apply it to your curriculum, because these are curriculum-linked trips, and hopefully it just levels up your understanding of everything you're learning in the classroom because you'll be in the field. Okay? So, what next? Well, not much for you. I hope you've all listened, because your parents might have questions for you, okay? What the next steps are that your parents will come and learn more about it, and then we'll move on from there. But these trips, just to reiterate, are happening next March, and that's everything from me. So, do we need any questions, or are we all good?
5 minutes?
Okay.
Quick question.
Yes?
Does it cost like money?
It does cost money, yeah, we'll be talking to your parents about that later, yeah. So there will be costs, yes?
So it's only your 8 and 9 for the industry and only your 6 and 7 for land.
Correct, that's right, yes, because it's linking to your curriculum or what you're learning in the classroom.
And it will mean that when you move into the older year groups, you'll get the chance to do the other trip as well.
Yeah. Yes?
So basically we'll be like sleeping in like these tents, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right, yeah. The question was, will we be in tents? Yes, we'll be camping in tents, yes. Yes, I might not get all your questions, but I'll try.
For the night on land, will we be going up some mountain and
Will there be extreme?
heights?
No, not really. We'll actually be focusing, so the question was, will we be going up mountains and will there be extreme heights? No, we'll be going more into the wadis, so more into like the canyons of the mountains, but we are in the mountains, if you know what I mean. But we won't be standing on top of a peak looking down into a ravine and stuff like that, no. Yes?
Say someone got seriously injured,
Uh-huh.
would they be able to get like medical help?
Absolutely, yeah, the school has our risk assessments, so we've worked all of that out. If you're worried about those sort of things, we're going to talk to your parents about that later, but hospitals are close by, we have safety backup, we have vehicles, etc., yeah, so we've got all of that covered, yeah. Yes?
Will we be in a tent with our friends?
That's a good question. question I'm going to speak to your teachers about, but likely you'll be not in a tent with your friend. Yes?
Will we have any children?
Sorry?
Will we be having any children?
I come closer. What was the last part of your question? Will there be a trip?
Will we be flying abroad, like on?
Ah, will you be on planes? No, these are all in the UAE this year. Yeah, there's reasons for that around COVID, so yeah. Yes?
How are we going to manage to find food in the desert?
Well, you have to find out. We're going to teach you. Yes.
This question had to sit in this.
Sorry guys, a second, I can't hear. Yeah.
What will we eat then? Because if we're in the forest, what kind of food do we try to get?
Well, I'm not going to ruin all these, but you're not going to be in a forest, unfortunately. It's going to be the desert, but I can't ruin a surprise on this. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to wait for the trip. Yes.
If we go like deep into the forest, like or the mountain hiking, basically, do you find like fossils, like old fossils? Is there like a probability?
Yeah, there is a probability we'll find fossils, definitely. And you're going to learn about that, why that's the case in the Hadra Mountains specifically. But yes, there's a good chance we will see fossils. Yes.
Okay, last question, please. Think about what you're asking and then relate it to the trip, please. Last question. Anything else you can ask Mr. Ben later?
Do we have a choice to go?
There's always a choice, I believe. Yeah, no one can force you against your will.
Just pulling the thing over the thing.